I think the biggest thing in life is to be happy. And it all comes down to that. And if you can find a way to do what you want to do and be successful while being happy, that is the ultimate goal in life.
That was Katie Chung Hua. Welcome to Health in the Real World. We talked today with Katie about goal setting, about health and fitness, about falling off the wagon, how to get back up. Thank you so much for joining me today. Health in the Real World.
It's the Health in the Real World podcast. It's time to start the show with Chris Janke as your host. Here to give you everything that you need when it comes to fitness strategies. We keep it simple and easy. It's your roadmap to get healthy. You don't need equipment and you don't need a gym. Just the right strategies to get you fit and trim.
Health in the Real World podcast brought to you by My Core Balance. What do you think your body would look and feel like if you continued to move like you did when you were a kid? Unencumbered by all these movement limitations that some of these, as adults, that we tend to get, right? We get tight, we get stiff. Check out all these videos over here you get access to. mycorebalance.com. Sign up, enter promo code podcast for 10% off your monthly membership. Now we have Katie Chung Hua. Thank you so much for joining me today. Welcome to Health in the Real World. We're with Katie Chung Hua. Katie, thanks for joining us today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
And Katie, you're telling me you've been in the fitness industry for a good 10 plus years. Can you just give us a little bit of a background as far as how you got into it and what you're doing right now?
Yeah, I like to tell people I've been in the fitness industry before it was the cool thing to do. I remember people would ask me why I wanted a six-pack because they thought that was weird. But I actually grew up as an athlete, and I asked Bodybuildingcom if I could be an intern there. And while I was interning, I was actually also a personal trainer doing my first bodybuilding show, and I was an athletic trainer. So I was kind of dabbling in all sorts of fitness related areas. And once I started working at bodybuilding.com, they actually needed some like booth models and expo models. And so they asked me because I just would ask the employees to do it. And that opened up a lot of doors as far as starting to get sponsorships and looking into the modeling side of fitness. Meanwhile, still training clients and then just starting to get into bodybuilding, which bodybuilding.com was like my first sponsor for that, which was pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. And I mean, bodybuilding.com is huge. I don't know. I'm sure even back then they were one of the big players, online, right?
Yeah, it was one of the biggest. I think what made them so successful is their name, their website, bodybuilding.com, because anyone who was interested in bodybuilding or interested in fitness, that was their number one hit. And the owner actually worked really hard at making sure when you searched fitness or anything related to that, that bodybuilding was the number one site. And I think that contributed to a lot of its success.
So, Katie, what would you recommend to somebody, let's say they're just starting out, what would you recommend as far as being a very foundational approach to fitness? What are the first 1, 2, or 3 things that you would recommend somebody do?
The very first thing is I would create a roadmap, set your long-term goals, and then start setting your short-term goals, because we're all overly ambitious when we want to, let's say, lose 50 pounds. Yeah, we want to lose 50 pounds, but how are we going to get there? Don't get discouraged if it doesn't happen overnight. And so those short-term goals help you along the way, whether it be like this week, I'm going to be running 3 miles and next week it's going to be 4, but that's how I'm going to get there to lose my 50 pounds. So I always tell everyone when you're first starting, just create a roadmap that sets guidelines that you can look at every day so you don't get lost, you don't get overwhelmed, and you don't get discouraged.
Absolutely. One step at a time, right? Just get started and just go from there.
Yes.
So then somebody who's been going for a while, who falls off the wagon, right? They're like, I don't want to eat healthy anymore. I've lost my motivation to work out. Do you have a pep talk for that person?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of things. People, like I said, having those short-term goals kind of helps stop that, because you do get overwhelmed when you're just looking at that major picture. But something that can really help is remove yourself from the situation. Let's say that you're constantly lifting weights. Like, why don't you join a dance class? Why don't you ask your friend to come work out with you? Create something that is fun for you and it's not a job. And if you fall off the wagon, listen, no one is perfect. It happens to everyone. It happens to me. It happens to your biggest role model. No one is perfect. And you have to just accept that and just go back to your roadmap and just make sure that you're continuously just keeping yourself in check, and know that it's okay to fall off and that it happens. And if you can just keep going, that's all that matters.
I like that. Definitely trying something new, completely out of left field, right? That's related to health. You're still going to be fit. You're still going to be going sort of in the right direction. It's just not like this regimented, right? Like I need to do 5 sets of this and right? It's like kind of give
I think
yourself a little break, right?
I think a lot of people think that it has to be work when it doesn't. And that's what's going to keep you going, is if you can find a way to make it fun. And I love training with my friends. I think it's great. I'm a very busy person. So a lot of times the only way that I get to see my friends is if I'm like, hey, come work out with me, or let's go for a run, or let's meet at the park. So having that kind of mutual interest as far as like you're enjoying it is going to keep you on that path.
You reminded me of this. There's a really good book. It's kind of more along the lines of networking type of thing. I think it's called Never Eat Alone. And
I've seen that book. I've never
have you
read
seen
it.
it? Yeah. And the guy talks about this, about how he works out with people as a way to network when he goes to another city, because he's like, I'm going to work out anyway, and I want to meet these people, so I'm just going to invite them to this boot camp that I do. So I thought it's really interesting. You're going to work out anyway. You want to see your friends, make it fun. That's great.
Yeah.
So speaking of, you mentioned you fall off the wagon occasionally. Everybody does it. This is a good segue, I think, into the next question. Where do you personally struggle, or maybe where have you struggled with your health and fitness in the past? And what strategies have you used to overcome that struggle?
I think motivation for everybody across the board, but motivation's hard, especially, let's say, physically. You're like, I really like the way that I look. So you stop slowing down, you stop going to the gym, you stop eating right, and then you go back to how you were. And I think that in order to keep that is not only motivation, but discipline. So creating habits that you want to do every day. And the motivation, actually what I do is I like to take a step back and create a vision board. I'm a very visual person. And so when I stop or I lack that motivation, I try to go back, look at my goals, see what I want to do, and be like, wait a minute, what am I doing? And continue to move forward. If I have fallen off completely, like I said, you can't change the past. You can't change anything. You just got to say, you know what? I'm just going to hit it hard tomorrow. I'm just going to do this the best that I can. Write down your schedule, strategize, and just do it. I think that too many people get caught up on, I fell off, I did something wrong, I ate too much, whatever it is. And then it's a downward spiral. And I think that if you can just accept when something goes wrong and just move forward, then that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, no guilt, no shame. Just what am I going to do from here on out? How can I learn from this? Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going big picture now. We're going life advice. You have just been contracted to give what do they call it? Valedictorian or commencement. That's the word. A commencement address to a university. And they want you to give these graduates life advice. What kinds of principles have you used in your life to achieve the level of success that you have achieved? What kind of wisdom can you impart on those graduates?
I think the biggest thing in life is to be happy. And it all comes down to that. And if you can find a way to do what you want to do and be successful while being happy, that is the ultimate goal in life. And like, for example, when I competed, I absolutely hated it. I was miserable 90% of the time. And I literally had to take a step back and say to myself, why am I sacrificing my time, my money, experiences that I could be having with my friends and family for something that I don't even enjoy? And what was the end goal of me competing? And that didn't really even align with what my end goal was for life. And so why am I spending all this time being miserable when I could be doing something that I love and being happy? So I stopped competing. And then I took a step back and I said, okay, what do I want from life? I want a family. I want to educate people. I want to help people. How do I align that with, let's say, making income or making a life out of it? And so if you can find a way to do what genuinely makes you happy at the end of the day, that is what we all want. We want to be happy. And so that's kind of how I look at it, is why am I spending my time doing A, B, or C when this is miserable for me?
Well, Katie, thank you so much again for joining me today. I want to let people know how to find you online if they want to follow you or get in touch with you. Where can they find you?
Yeah, absolutely. Everything is at Katie Chung Hua, because I don't think anybody else has that name. But you spell the last part CHUNGHUA.
All right, perfect. Katie, thank you so much again.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Health in the Real World show. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment down below. Visit mycorebalance.com to learn more.